BC and AD, before COVID and after the disruption. The COVID-19 pandemic caused one of the most significant global disruptions since World War II. In the United States, both supply and demand shocks created rapid declines in economic activity, while the senior care industry faced unique struggles due to its vulnerable population and workforce shortages. This presentation will analyze the economic impacts, fiscal and monetary policy responses, structural shifts in the U.S. economy, global comparisons, and key lessons for avoiding future crises. The pandemic led to the deepest economic downturn since the Great Depression. Unemployment soared nearly 15% as businesses closed and demand collapsed, while GDP fell by over 3%, reversing years of positive growth. Inflation was initially subdued, but rose significantly during recovery due to stimulus interventions and supply chain disruptions. In senior care, many communities faced staff shortages, high turnover, increased PPE and medical costs, and a decline in occupancy as families delayed moving loved ones into different levels of living with concerns over safety. The Federal Reserve responded swiftly by cutting rates to near zero and launching large-scale asset purchases, also known as quantitative easing. Additionally, emergency lending facilities helped stabilize credit markets. For the senior care industry, these policies provided access to low-interest loans that supported operational liquidity during a period of flat or declining revenue. However, this monetary expansion later fueled inflationary pressures as noted by Forbes, Lewis, and Ames. U.S. fiscal policy responses were unprecedented in size and speed of implementation. The CARES Act provided direct payments to households, forgivable loans for businesses, and targeted support to healthcare and senior living providers. These measures stabilized demand and protected jobs, but came at the cost of significant increases in federal debt. According to Courtney et al., such large fiscal interventions can create long-term distortions if not paired with prudent monetary discipline. We can measure the overall impact to the national debt and debt service payments in trillions for 2020 alone, with a lasting long-term repayment obligation. The pandemic accelerated some pre-existing trends in the San Francisco Bay Area and U.S. at large, such as remote work, digitalization, and telemedicine. The labor market experienced a structural shift with many workers leaving traditional roles, a phenomenon referred to as the Great Resignation. For senior care, this created lasting challenges in recruiting and retaining staff, leading providers to explore higher wages, increasing budget for workplace efficiency tools and training, and a greater overall reliance on technology. While many businesses have begun to return to the office, many are finding that a hybrid work role has been effective in meeting both the needs of staff utility and business growth. Countries varied in their approaches. One such example is Sweden, where they avoided strict lockdowns, hoping to preserve economic activity, but suffered high early mortality in nursing homes and their elder population. The United States implemented stronger lockdowns and more aggressive fiscal and monetary stimulus. The trade-offs revealed the policies should aim for balance, protecting vulnerable populations like seniors while maintaining economic stability. Examining another angle of interventions, the National Bureau of Economic Research weighed in on impacts of government policies during COVID. Research by Gupta and colleagues found that while social distancing reduced employment, it was effective in slowing COVID-19 transmission. Fiscal tools like expanded unemployment insurance helped protect workers financially. In the senior care sector, the labor supply shrank further as employees left due to infection risks. This highlights the importance of targeted policies to create essential workers in vulnerable populations during crises. My recommendation for Mr. Forbes places an emphasis on additional preparedness, prudence, and precision. First, governments should maintain stockpiles of essential supplies to avoid shortages, as well as maintain some capacity for production. Second, fiscal and monetary interventions should be large enough to stabilize demand, but not excessive enough to create long-term inflation. Oversight of dispersed funds is critical, as we saw with the rampant fraudulent claims with the PPP. Third, aid should focus on vulnerable industries which are both labor and resource intensive. Finally, ideally, stronger global coordination is needed to avoid fragmented and conflicting responses in potential future global crises. In conclusion, the COVID-19 pandemic reshaped the U.S. economy through both short-term disruptions and lasting structural changes. Fiscal and monetary responses were critical in preventing a deeper recession, but created new challenges, including inflation and debt. Industries like senior care illustrate how vulnerable sectors face extraordinary pressures and must be focused on future policy. The key lesson is to build redundant and resilient systems that can withstand shocks while maintaining economic stability and have the ability to adapt and intervene at critical moments. Cheers.